Okay, so this is my review of the Bulova Precisionist Champlain Chronograph, reference 96B175. Now, this is the model that came out after Bulova had the tuning fork removed from the dials of their watches. So I believe there may possibly be different reference numbers out there. I haven't found a variance in the reference number from the models displaying the tuning fork on the dial versus the ones that did not have the tuning fork on the dial. So I went with this model. I purchased it from Amazon, and I do know that it comes in different cases like a lot of watches do. Sometimes the more expensive watch that you'll find listed will come in a bigger, more ostentatious type of case, but really I wasn't really looking into that. I just wanted the watch. I've been wanting the watch ever since it came out in about 2009, I believe, and for whatever reason I never really purchased it. I kept putting it off, and finally 7 years later I went out and I finally purchased it. So without further ado, here is the Bulova Precisionist Champlain Chronograph. Now, it doesn't come in the fancy box like I was mentioning, but who really cares about that, right? It's a Bulova. Big whoop. I like the Bulova brand because I had a Bulova watch gifted to me when I was a teenager by my parents one Christmas, and I absolutely fell in love with the watch. I've always been into watches, and for some reason when I received Bulova chronograph watch, I really took on a fascination with watches. I had an appreciation for it. It was a quartz watch, like most of them are. You know, the Bulova does have the upper line Accutrons and things like that. I believe they just changed their name to something else, and I can't think of it right now. But Bulovas are a quality watch, especially, you know, if you're a younger adult and you want a decent watch that's going to run. I never had to change the battery on it. I had it for a few years until it was stolen from me when I was working in a children's shelter. Not sure if one of the kids took it or if one of the employees took it, but here we go. I digress. So here is the Bulova Precisionist Champlain Chronograph. What I like about this watch is the texture to it. Now, mine is kind of, I didn't shine it up for this video. I probably should have done that. But this watch really reflects and picks up light in interesting ways. It's nice to note. I do like the bracelet on this. I get lots of compliments on the bracelet. The bracelet is really thick. It is, of course, stainless steel, but is about 0.94 inches in width. So it's a very substantial bracelet. Let me go ahead and take it off the watch pillow here. So of course, as you'll notice, if you've looked at it, if you've seen these before, I do believe this was the first Precisionist model. When it came out, they were always advertising about it being the most accurate watch in the world. Get a closer look there. Of course, it is a chronograph. It is supposed to be accurate within 10 seconds a year. So it would take about 6 years to be off by a minute. I've read reviews and they say that the watch battery life lasts about 2 years, which I guess sounds about right. That's not a very desirable lifespan for a battery, but for the bulk, the size of this watch, you know, you'd figure the battery might not last that long. But of course, you know, switching batteries out isn't very expensive, especially if you mind taking care of your watches. So of course, I'm not going to go into the timing features because there are plenty of videos out there about the Bulova Precisionist and how to operate chronographs, so I'm not going to bore you with that. But what I do like about the watch is it's very sporty. I wouldn't say it's much of a dress watch. I would definitely say it's a sporty watch. You could probably wear it with a polo shirt. It looks really nice with white shirts and blue shirts and things like that. It does have a hint of blue in the dial. I believe that's a type of metal in there, but also the carbon fiber really pops out at me. I do really have an appreciation for watches that sort of take their design inspiration from automobiles. And that's one thing that really attracted me to this watch. So it is considered a technical diver, and what you'll find interesting about it, you never see this in any of the reviews about it, is that it does have a diver's extension, which is nice. We'll dirty there, but it does have a diver's extension. I have not taken it diving yet. I probably would be considering the price of this watch, but it does have a screw down crown, which is very nice to have on a diver's watch, or any watch for that matter. It is water resistant within 300 feet, which is about 1,000 meters. So that's a very high quality to have in a watch of this price. So I definitely think you're getting bang for your buck with this watch for the price, because you're going to pay top dollar for water resistance in diving watches. It does not look like the technical diving watch because it doesn't have a rotating bezel, but that's not really much of a loss. You collect watches, you'll have more than one diving watch. If you really need your rotating bezel, then use your Seiko SKX. Wristwatch check, I had to throw that in there. But again, like I said, I do love the texture, the materials that they use to make this watch. It is very fun to operate. I figure I'll go ahead and give it a try. It does have the date feature. Go ahead and throw that in there. Like I said, this is the newer model after Bulova took the tuning fork out of the dial design. It does have the sweeping hand movement. So this watch is ultra high frequency. Bulova began using the ultra high frequency technology with their watches with the Precisionist line. And it's a very interesting movement. So it is Japanese quartz, but it functions, at least from the outside, like an automatic or mechanical watch. It's got a very fine sweeping hand movement, and I think that's very attractive when you've got other people looking at it and things like that. It is kind of bulky. I'd say the bulk of it is a little bit out of style, but like I said, I've wanted this watch for about 7 years, so I don't really care how bulky or big it is. So I'll go ahead and use the chronograph feature and show you how the timer works. The timer is supposed to be accurate within 1/1000th of a second. Okay. So it does have the steady ticking hand. Let's try that again. Let's keep going. Didn't get much of a read on the 1/1000th subdial. Okay, so there we had a timing of about 16.004. So whatever we just timed, we had a timing of 16.004 seconds if you look at the subdials. Like I said, this watch is very impressive to look at, and again, I can't emphasize how much this price point is such a steal for this watch. It's not sapphire crystal, which is kind of a drawback for this watch, but it is mineral curved crystal, because if you look at it, it's got a curved display in it. So it's not a flat, it's not a sapphire crystal, but that's not too big of a deal, because I think that this watch really transcends what expectations are in watches for the money. But I would definitely recommend this watch to any watch collector. It doesn't matter whether you like quartz watches, mechanical watches. This is a very fun watch to play with. Let me go ahead and reset it. And again, the materials in it is very sports and automobile influenced. It's that they compare it to a machine. If you look at some of the angles that they put into it, the pillars, the material they use around the dial, sort of graded material, the Bulova insignia on the crown is a nice touch. I don't know what to think about the bracelet. I kind of think that since they're using the 3-prong ultra high frequency quartz, look at this bracelet. It kind of looks like a tuning fork to me, which of course is what Bulova's famous for, and they have their tuning fork shaped quartzes that they use for their movement. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or if I'm just thinking too much about the design there. I have taken this for sizing to a my watch guy here in Chicago, and he was actually very impressed. I think it was the first time he had ever seen one of these models, and he was very impressed with it. He said it was a very nice watch, and he liked the bracelet on it. He said he hadn't seen a bracelet like this on a watch in a very, very long time. And this guy, you can tell by walking into his store, all the clocks and watches that he's got in there. He's a master at his art form and master in horology, and you could tell he knew what he was talking about. He was highly impressed with this watch. So there it is. Again, you know, I like the watch. I strongly recommend it. The price point for this watch, I believe, retails for about $800. There are quite a few new models out and quite a few different variations, but this is the watch that I like because I feel like it's the most classic of all the models. And of course, I believe it's the original chronograph version of the Champlain. I like the blue in the dial. That's something that really popped out and drew my attention to the watch. I like the yellow second hand and the sub-dial hands. Just the girth of the watch is kind of impressive, and when you're wearing this on your wrist, it really pops and stands out. I'm still on the fence about the metallic, almost perlage pattern that they have in the dial. I don't know if it's too much, too little, but I do like the touches of this watch. The bolted in dial and bezel. It's a great watch. So there you have it, the Bulova Precisionist Champlain Chronograph. Again, I have to say this is a very large watch, so unless you're a big man, I'm about 6'4". I don't think my wrists are very big, but this looks good on me because I got big hands. I got small wrists, but I got big hands. So I think that this watch really looks nice on me. I think if you've got smaller hands, smaller wrists, it probably won't be that good looking. So you might want to go with a smaller brand. They do have smaller versions of the Precisionist coming out, and they also do have different models in the ultra high frequency line. One that I'm interested in looking into is the Bulova Moonwatch, which uses the ultra high frequency, and of course it sort of has that historical aspect to it. But let me go ahead and show you how this looks on my wrist. I apologize, I'm using my kitchen for a studio right now because it is nighttime and I just got a little bored, so I figured I would film in here today. And there you go. I do recommend this watch. Like I said, I paid about $390 for this watch. I don't believe I paid any taxes. I might be mistaken, but the watch retail, I think I got into that earlier and I must have stopped speaking on that for some reason, but I think the watch retails for about $800. If you go to Macy's or JCPenney's or whoever has this watch for sale, they'll probably try to sell it to you for $600 and then try to get you to buy the store credit card and then promise that they'll pay you, you'll have to pay $500 for it, but you'd be much better off just going to Amazon, eBay, or something like that. You could probably get it for as low as $350, and probably for the most you'll pay for it online is about $475 maybe. So if you're into watches, if you like quartz, if you like ultra high frequency, if you're a fan of Bulova, I definitely recommend this watch. Thank you for tuning in.